Hi, welcome to Breadonomics. In this video, I will unpack question 12 of the 2024 Economics External Exam for Queensland. This was the second short response question. It's worth 10 marks. The question reads, graph shows a hypothetical situation faced by a federal government budget in 2026. So straight off that, we can see that we've got a question that's going to relate to fiscal policy. We're then provided with some data. This is a really good question and it's an easy 10 marks, and in this video I'm going to break down why. It's a two-part question. Part A, describe the economic issues shown and explain the two causes, worth 6 marks. And B, identify two funding solutions the federal government should consider and explain one limitation of each, worth 4 marks. In the answer book, Part A was given 15 lines, so about 100 words, 120 words approximately that you'll be writing. And Part B was given 9 lines in the response book, so about 80 words. Before beginning to think about my responses to the questions, I first need to unpack my data. We can see here some data on our federal budget over time, which relates to the government revenue and the government expenditure. Revenue expressed as a column and expenditure expressed as a line graph. We see that the years are covered from 2010 to 2026. We see that the values are expressed as a percentage of GDP. I'd also then want to think back to my economic theory. Am I clear about the stance and the outcomes of budgets in surplus and deficit? And in which economic conditions would a government seek to take a particular expansionary or contractionary stance, which would lead to a budget deficit or a budget surplus outcome? The key to questions that use data is to be precise, is to demonstrate precision, accurate analysis of dates, values, and changes. So let's break down some early data as represented by the light pink arrow that's come up on the data set itself. From 2010 to 2021, we see that government revenue increases by 1 percentage point as a percentage of GDP, and expenditure decreases by 1 percentage point, or 100 basis points. And that from 2018 to 2021, the government's been achieving some surpluses. Okay, so we've seen that taxes greater than government expenditure across time. If you look from 2010 to 2021, you kind of get the feeling that everything's remaining, in inverted commas, fairly steady. Now, don't use that term of fairly steady. Be very clear and precise as I've presented here on the screen. So now we can start to think through the question. Describe the economic issues shown and explain the two causes. So we know now that from 2010 to 2021, we saw this fairly steady sort of budget position, but it seems to have had some very significant changes in the years from 2021 to 2026, as signified by my bright red arrow. We now have to think about what the economic issue, the problem, is. The problem, as I see it, is that there's a significant change in the budget. We've gone from this position of surplus to deficits. So we can see here a connect between the theory and the actual data in the event. The 2026 budget deficit is approximately 5% of GDP. It's become very large in comparison to where it was in previous years. Make sure that you place those values upon your decisions. And the budget deficit's been increasing each year from 2022 to 2026. An upside of that, or an outcome from that, is that there is an accumulation of government debt along the way. So let's now think about explaining the causes. What's caused these changes to the federal government budget position? So first of all, break down your data. Cause 1, there's been a fall in revenue. And at the same time, cause 2, there's been an increase in expenditure. That there is descriptive analysis. What we want to do, though, is ensure that we explain the causes. We want to link those causes or the changes back to our economic theory, and always with an explain, try and use something that feels like a real-world, rational, logical example. For example, tax revenue might be decreasing due to an economic contraction, less tax income receipts. Expenditure is increasing as increased unemployment in this economic contraction leads to an increase in total welfare payments to households. So this deficit position, because I know that deficit positions often become quite large when there's an economic contraction, helps me to think through to some logic economic theory that may describe why this is all happening. That then brings us to the marking guide. Highlighted in yellow is the 12A section here, and we can see that the 6 marks were allocated across 6 different aspects. First of all, that there was a precision identifying the issue of the budget deficit as 5%, and that there was an identification of the trend. That's the second mark, the increasing deficit over the past 5 years. Then thinking to the causes of it, we've got the revenue position. The revenue has decreased over time. You've used some data, you used some dates. Once again, exercise precision. And linked it through to your economic theory to describe or explain a valid cause of that decline in revenue. And then it's the same for the expenditure. Quantify the increase in expenditure over time and explain a valid cause for the increase in expenditure. So the example I've shown you here would have got you the 6 marks straight off the back. Like I said, I like this question. Quick pause, we'll head on to the next section. Given that you've all got a really great handle on fiscal policy, I'd reckon that part B is some really easy marks for you. Identify 2 funding solutions to the federal government and explain 1 limitation of each. We can see there it's worth 4 marks, so each solution and each explanation would receive 1 mark each. Here are some options for you. Going backwards, increase level of government debt, decrease expenditure, or increase tax revenue. I guess the funding ones there are increasing tax revenue and increasing debt, and both of those will have significant limitations, and you have to explain those limitations, give some detail around it. All in all, that should be a fairly easy 4 marks to pick up for someone who's done their research, done their practice, done their homework, and has a good understanding of fiscal policy. Anyway, guys, I hope this video was helpful. Please give it a subscribe, like, and share down below, all that sort of thing. Leave any comments you'd like, and all the best with your preparation for upcoming exams. Okay, thanks everyone. Bye.